Disregard the heart attack for a minute. I heard that Isaac Wilson, that was this last week, that they were starting Isaac Wilson, Utah was. And so far, they have lost 3 straight games. Sad. The fall off of Utah needs to be studied. There's no way, with Michael Bernard as your running back, you should be losing 3 straight games after being top 10 and 4-0 in the country. Anyways, welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. Today we got Week 8 college football reactions, and along with the reaction to the Week 9 AP poll that came out yesterday. And once again, we have a grand total of 0. Yeah, 0 ranked versus unranked upsets. Come on, this is boring. But to make up for it, we had a couple of top 25 matchups between 2 ranked teams in a couple of different games, including College Game Day, which, along with that, big noon kickoff will be covered. Man, we got some crazy games to talk about. And if you have enjoyed this series so far, or you are new to this series, I will leave a link in the description of the full playlist. For those of you who are new to the entire series, you can go and watch that entire playlist so you're all caught up, and you can see the new episodes that come out whenever I post them. Be sure to hit the like button, be sure to hit the red subscribe button, and hit the bell so you don't miss a video. Seriously, there's a button down there, just click on it. Anyways, let's get straight to it. Kicking off this episode, we got the College Game Day between number 5 Georgia and number 1 Texas, with Georgia winning on the road 30-15. Yeah, I think I cursed this Texas team. It's not like the offense did any better. Well, Carson Beck rather. Trevor Etienne went off. And Texas fans, really? You have the audacity to throw beer bottles on the football field? I don't even know if they were beer bottles or anything, but still, throwing stuff on the field because of a bad call that got overturned for your favor? Why? Even I wouldn't even do that. Come on. Bottlegate College Edition is real. I mean, come on. Cleveland's Bottlegate and Texas Orange teams are throwing bottles while their fans are. That can't be good. The main people who showed up this week for Georgia was the defense and Trevor Etienne. Carson Beck struggled mightily with 175 yards, 23 of 41, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. Arch Manning had a couple snaps, but Quinn Ewers got most of it with 25 of 43, 211 yards. He didn't do terrible. I mean, he threw the only 2 touchdowns of the game. 2 touchdowns and a pick. But Texas had 3 fumbles because Georgia was sacking Ewers a ton. Like I said before, Trevor Etienne cooked this week with 87 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, and the main receiver was Oscar Delp with 2 catches for 45 yards, even though Arian Smith had 6 catches for 32 yards. And as for Texas, 52 rushing yards for Trey Wisner, and the only 2 receiving touchdowns were by Gina Blue and Isaiah Bond. And also receiving was led by Matthew Golden and Gunnar Helm with 140 yards and 9 catches between the 2. But man, Georgia's defense came to play. Jalen Walker with 3 sacks. There was a total of 7 in this game. Michael Williams had 2. There were 3 fumble recoveries forced by Everett. Yeah, Michael Williams even had 1, and Wilson had 1. There was an interception by Everett, so he had a very amazing game. And also there were 4 pass defenses. Texas's defense came to play as far as turnovers go as well. Only 1 sack, but 3 interceptions, 2 by Jahdae Barron. This 2 defenses were really lighting it up, but Georgia's rushing offense came to play. Texas just apparently could not stop it. Georgia had some brick walls for offensive line, and that's what got Georgia the win. I apologize, Georgia, for ever doubting you. Next up, we got big noon kickoff between Nebraska and Indiana. I know it says 22 on Nebraska, but they were unranked. Indiana won 56-7. Damn. And unfortunately, their quarterback Rourke is going to miss an indefinite amount of time. He will miss next week's game against Washington, which happens to be College Game Day. But that sucks for Indiana. Hopefully, they can do well without him. this was just dominant on both sides of the ball for Indiana. Like, they forced Raiola to throw 3 picks. He did not have a great time at all against Indiana's defense. 234 yards and 3 picks, 0 touchdowns, crazy stuff. And of course, Curtis Rourke got 17-21 for 189 yards. He did have a touchdown and a pick, but David Jackson actually looks like he was very solid. 7 of 8 for 91 and 2 touchdowns. I hope that Indiana is in good hands at quarterback, but so far so good. The only source of points for Nebraska was a Ja'Cory Barney rushing touchdown. Other than that, the rushing game was atrocious. And the remaining receiver was Thomas Fidone III with 6 catches for 91. Man, Indiana dominated the rushing game as well. 5 rushing touchdowns in this game. 2 of them by Justice Ellison with 100 yards. Tyson Lawton had 64 rushing yards as well. And receiving was led by Elijah Sayre, who had 3 catches for 65 yards and a score. And Miles Cross also had 65 yards on 7 catches for a score. And the other touchdown was by Miles Price. And as far as Nebraska's defense, not much really else to say, except Isaac Gifford and C.R. Wright had some solid games tackling, but only 1 sack and 1 interception by Malcolm Hartzog. Man, they could not stop Indiana's offense whatsoever. And as far as Indiana's defense, of course they had 2 picks. They also had 2 sacks in this game as well. 2 picks and 2 fumbles that were forced. 2 picks were by Asbury and Jameer Johnson. Remember, Sean Asbury had that 1 call from Gus Johnson, and 2 forced fumbles were by Jalen Walker and Mikael Kamara. Oh wait, it was 3. 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles because Elisha Hardy also had 1. We'll have to see what happens with Indiana without their star quarterback, but this was a great win nonetheless. Kicking off the top 25 matchups, we had Alabama travel to Neyland Stadium to lose to the Tennessee Volunteers 24-17. All jokes aside, I see Alabama only winning at least 8 games this season. Like, the fall-off is not going to happen in 1 year. It's going to take longer. Seriously, hear me out. Trust me. Like, it's going to take a while for Alabama to completely fall off, but they're not out of it just yet. But this was a bad loss. This is the 2nd time in 3 years that Tennessee has beaten the Crimson Tide. Once with Saban and once with DeBauer. It's like times never change. Well, it's pretty much opposite day, I guess. Unfortunately for Jalen Milroe, he struggled mightily with 239 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions in this game. Nico Iamaleava had himself a pretty mid-game. 194 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Even Gaston Moore threw an interception. Never put him at quarterback again. I mean, rushing the ball was just atrocious. Like, the only touchdown was by Justice Haynes. And the receiving leader was Ryan Williams, who had the only receiving touchdown of the game. And there was also Jeremy Bernard, who had 72 receiving yards with 5 catches. And as for Tennessee's offense, Dylan Sampson went off in this game. 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shit. And receiving was led by Brew McCoy with 6 catches for 80 and Dante Thornton with 3 catches for 70, with the only touchdown going to Chris Brazzell. Or Brazzell, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Alabama's defense did force 2 turnovers and they got 3 sacks, including interception by Malachi Moore, you know, the guy who had a live crash out against Vanderbilt. And then there's Jalen, I'm not going to say his last name, maybe it's Mbakwe? Not sure, but they also had a fumble recovery as well. Malachi Moore forced it out and Jahad Campbell recovered it, but that was pretty much it for Alabama. They couldn't stop the brick wall of the Tennessee offensive line to allow Dylan Sampson to get that many yards. 3 sacks for Tennessee's defense and also 2 interceptions. Will Brooks and Jerman McCoy had picks in this game, and a good game by James Pierce as well with 1.5 sacks. And just like that, Alabama is 0-2 against the state of Tennessee. I'm not going to say much because this was bad. But does Alabama hate the state of Tennessee now? Probably. And the final ranked versus ranked matchup was actually between the Michigan Wolverines and the Illinois Fighting Illini, with the Illinois coming out on top 21-7. They lost against Penn State, but they did beat Michigan for the first time in about a good while. Actually, it's the first time since 2009 that Illinois has beaten Michigan, and that was also in Champaign, that 2009 game. I hate to break it to you, Michigan, but Jet Tuttle is not your guy going forward. 200 yards, 20 of 32, and an interception, no touchdowns. Luke Altmaier didn't even have to throw too much because the rushing game was just tearing it up on the ground. Like 9 of 18, and he got a touchdown as well. Donovan Edwards once again disappointing, but Khalil Mullings had 87 rushing yards and a score. Receiving was led by Colston Loveland, no surprise there, with 7 catches for 83. And as for Illinois, we had only 1 touchdown. Altmaier ran for a touchdown as well. And receiving was led by Pat Bryant with 4 catches for 32 yards. The only touchdown was a 2-yard reception by Tanner Arkin. Michigan only had 1 sack and 5 pass deflections. So, man, Michigan couldn't really do too much about the offensive game. Well, they had themselves a comfortable game defensively against Illinois, but offense, not so much. Yeah, because Illinois' defense forced 3 turnovers in this game. 2 fumbles and a pick. Like, they forced 3 fumbles. 1 was recovered by Michigan. The other 2 were recovered by the defense of Illinois. Matthew Bailey had the only pick. Gabe, I'm not going to pronounce his last name. I'm probably going to get flanked for it. But he had 2.5 sacks in this game. And Terrell Edwards had 2 sacks and a forced fumble. Bailey had a forced fumble as well. And Malachi Hood and Miles Scott got recoveries. The defensive battle, clearly from this box score, was won by the Fighting Illini. Congratulations, and you're bowl eligible with a big Big Ten win on your belt. I'm probably going to talk about one more game after this one, but oh boy, that was a close one. BYU survives at home against Oklahoma State 38-8, 35. Man, what a game. This was just back and forth all game, and then we ended up taking the lead with 10 seconds left because of Darius Lassiter. He was the savior of this game, and we are 7-0. And for some reason, Oklahoma State had 3 different QBs in this game. Like, what in the world happened here? Like, Alec Bowman had a touchdown in the pick, Garrett Rango had a touchdown in the pick, and Presley had a 16-yard passing touchdown. Like, what the heck happened with Oklahoma State's quarterback room? And as for us, Jake Retzlaff, not a very good game. 50% completions, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 picks. And there were 3 interceptions this game because the other one was by Hinckley Rapati. I did say Ollie Gordon was going to tear us up, and boy did he do that. 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, easily led the rushing game. And receiving was led by Brandon Presley, who had 5 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown. He had a catching and a receiving touchdown. That's wild. The other receiving touchdowns were by the man himself, Ollie Gordon, and also Alec Bowman even had a receiving touchdown. What the hell is going on? Thankfully, our rushing game came to play as well. We had 250 yards rushing total. LJ Martin, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jake Retzlaff, 81 rushing yards, 9 yards to carry and a score. With touchdowns by Keelan Marion and the leader receiving Darius Lassiter, who had the game-winning touchdown. 6 catches, 129 yards as well. 1 sack and but 3 interceptions for that Oklahoma State defense. They knew how to get turnovers. Parker Robinson, Lyric Rawls, and Corey Black were able to get turnovers for that defense. We had a sack of our own, and we had interceptions by Tommy Prassis, who had a fumble recovery for a touchdown against Kansas State, and also Tanner Wall got himself an interception. Good for him. Harrison Taggart and Isaiah Glasker also holding it down at the linebacker spot, and Crew Wakely at safety having a solid game as well. We got UCF at their bounce house next Saturday. I'm kind of nervous about that. We are 7-0, but this is closer than it should have been. Oklahoma State's still a pretty solid team. UCF, KJ Jefferson better not cook us up, otherwise we are screwed. Actually, they're starting a true freshman for some sort of reason. Not sure why, but I think he's looked good. Well, only one way to find out with that Iowa State game. Speaking of which, the final game we're going to be talking about is number 9 Iowa State surviving at home against UCF 38-35. Same score that we had against Oklahoma State. Us and Iowa State literally just played the exact same game almost, pretty much. They scored a last-second touchdown with 30 seconds left. We scored one with 10 seconds left. Similar outcomes. We ended up getting wins. You know, I wish we were playing each other in the regular season, but hopefully we can play these guys in the Big 12 Championship. That would be lit. Yeah, no, Ja'Carry Brown did not play well at all. He had 20 and 2 picks for 62 yards. Damn. But Rocco Betts also did not have a good game. 20 of 46 for a touchdown and 2 picks. Did I say KJ Jefferson? I meant RJ Harvey. Well, KJ Jefferson is a runner as well, and we are 1-1 against him. Both times he was at Arkansas. But my gosh, 350 yards on 38 carries for Ja'Carry Brown. He is a good runner, though. I will give him that. And RJ Harvey, 196 yards for Harvey and 2 touchdowns. Ja'Carry Brown, 154 and 2 touchdowns. I'm scared. And as for Iowa State, Rocco Betts also had 2 rushing touchdowns with 97 yards. Carson Hansen also added 91 yards and 2 touchdowns to the rushing game as well. Receiving was led by Jalen Noel, who had 8 catches, 153 yards. The only touchdown was by Jaden Higgins. UCF's defense had 3 sacks and 2 interceptions. One of this was returned for a touchdown by Brandon Adams. Braden Marshall had the other pick. Man, they were really cooking this game. The defenses were. Well, as far as turnovers, because Iowa State didn't get a single sack on Ja'Carry Brown, but they did force 2 interceptions. One by Bo Freiler and one by Jontez Williams. Note to self, UCF has a really good rushing quarterback, so we are kind of cooked. Hopefully we can get the win at the bounce house, but it's not looking likely at all. And before we end this episode, we are going to look at Week 9's AP poll. And the top 5 I'm fine with, the bottom 5 I am fine with, but the rest, not so much. Starting with the top 5, we have Oregon at 1, Georgia at 2, Penn State at 3, Ohio State at 4, and 5 at Texas. You know what? I'm cool with it. Miami staying at 6, that's totally fine. Tennessee going all the way up to 7 after beating Alabama. Yeah, I can see that. LSU at 8? Probably. Clemson at 9. Iowa State at 10. I mean, there are some questions about that top 10, like 6 through 10, but, you know, honestly, I'm actually kind of okay with it. BYU's at 11. Notre Dame at 12 after a big game against Georgia Tech. Indiana jumps to 13 after a big win at Benue kickoff, 56-7. A&M at 14. Man, I think it was because of the loss to Notre Dame is why they're behind them, so I understand. And Bama dropping to 15 is crazy. You know, with Vanderbilt being ranked and Tennessee in the top 10, I did not think that Alabama would be dropping this much, but I was wrong. Looking at the bottom 10, we got Kansas State at 16, Boise State at 17. It's absolutely ridiculous. They dropped 2 spots after a bye week, and they're undefeated. Why are they dropping? Ole Miss at 18, Pitt at 19, and Illinois at 20 after a ranked win over Michigan. Well, that victory isn't looking so good, though, to be quite honest with you, fighting Illini. But you're still holding it down, so I can respect that. Missouri still only has 1 loss at 21. SMU is at 22. Army at 23. Navy at 24. And Vanderbilt at 25. First time ranked in about a decade. All I can say is it's about damn time. Anchor down and put some respect on the commies' names. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. College game day is at Bloomington between the 13th ranked Indiana Hoosiers and the 4-3 and unranked Washington Huskies. A big concern is how will the quarterback play the quarterback room play in absence of Curtis Rourke. Hopefully well, but right now I'm going to have to just pick the Washington Huskies to pull off an upset because of the quarterback problem. If you know from past experience, if your starting quarterback goes down, it could really change your season for worse. No offense to Indiana, you guys had such a great run, but it's around week 9, week 10, week 8 where those magical runs just go out and die, but hopefully you guys can keep that going, that undefeated season going. Come on, Hoosiers. Prove me wrong, but I'm picking Washington. And that is going to do it for episode number 18, I'm very sure. Actually, it might be 20. I'm not sure. I lost count, unfortunately. I think it is 18, though. But if you have enjoyed this series, make sure you give this video a like. Enjoy this episode as well. Hit the red subscribe button, hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace!